I could go vegan, but I'm not Spock from Star Trek. It's Vulcan. It's different. Um, but the idea here is that we do our research, we make our choices to do this, that's not this over here, and that potentially could influence others, create something that is, a counter norm, and change other people's behaviors, and so we get a new norm that's not a norm, a counter norm, but it could be better, like everybody eating this instead of that. Instead of frozen entrees, you have fresh produce. But again, things are a little bit easier written and said than actually done in a world where we have jobs, have kids, have money or not, or whatever. So it's more complicated than just, ooh, I'm going to be a vegan, I think, from my perspective. But then it goes on to talking about, it's not just about food. Obviously, we need to change what's normal. Wearing certain clothes, not made in sweatshops, got to do a lot of research there. Using mass transit, even though mass transit ain't all that great. Riding a bicycle, even though bicycle lanes, see, it's like, the system is against us. Use reusable rather than disposable water bottles. Recycle plastic. Use the least amount of electricity possible. Turn off those lights. Refuse to shop at particular stores. Boycott things. A lifelong boycott. Yeah. So, lots of things to consider when, again, you're trying to make choices and try to influence other people through your own choices through this process of everyday activism. Combining lifestyles with other movements, playing well with others. One of the things that Larry says here is that everyday activism is useful. It's good. It's great. But it makes more impact if you align yourself with some sort of broader social movement. He gives the example of Black Power, which he sees as everyday activism with the civil rights movement. He talks about the example of veganism with the animal liberation movement. And I don't know anything about this law. But when you're thinking about, okay, the micro level, here are my choices, also think about how you can sort of align that with some larger community movements. How can you connect your own practices to larger movements and like-minded folks? And again, it's not just about economic impact, purchasing impact. I think the idea of our shared universe is pretty important. It's not, it's through, we share our world through interpersonal relations, giving each other emotional support, compassion, willingness to listen to other people, mutual aid and care, just to be a decent human being. And so part of that is the kind of language that we use, not like English versus Spanish, but that's part of it. But what some people talk about as political correctness, which those folks who sort of poo-poo political correctness are, language matter. Language and terms matter. I like the little saying here, the little quote on page 33, change the language and you change how people think. Change how people think and you increase the chance of changing their actions and behaviors. Right. So, there's been lots of research about this. So, if I say, draw a picture of a police officer, most people draw men because for the longest time we have used policemen, firemen, and then we use the little what's the word? These little filters, like female doctor, lady driver, that shows a female lawyer, that they're the exception that proves the rule. So, the way we use language shapes and frames how we see the world, and that's very, very important. It's not just silly. It's not just silly political correctness. It's more important than that. So, obviously, avoid racist and xenophobic language. You know what a xenophobe is, right? It's like everybody who's not from your country is bad. I'm afraid of people who are not just like me. Avoid homophobic language. That's okay. Avoid transphobic language. Call people what they want to be called. Avoid sexist language. Oh, we didn't have any sexist language in the past presidential election, do we? Ableist language. Even the idea of disability is somewhat problematic to me. But we oftentimes hear people say, oh, that's so retarded. That's problematic. We got to, deal with that. Speciesist language. Which this is sort of, who's they, advocates for animals oftentimes argue that euphemisms such as meat, that meat itself is a euphemism. That's actually flesh or pork instead of pig flesh. What are you having for dinner tonight? I'm going to have myself some pig flesh. I still want to start a restaurant called Pig Flesh. Flesh. But in any case, so language is important. You need to be very careful about that. And then the concluding part, going back to Michael Jackson, concluding thoughts. I really like them. I'm going to read this to you because I think this is what really the journal is all about, what the assignment is meant for you to do. So how do you become an everyday activist? You begin with self-reflection. What do you believe in? What kind of world would you like to create? What do you oppose? What are you for and why? Reflect on this stuff. This is the stuff that I expect in your journals. Now consider how you can translate this reflection into practice. We all live with some kind of contradiction or gap between what we truly believe and how we actually live. Look at those chickens in those crates. I want some chicken. And we can't end war simply by being peaceful to your neighbors. But if you are serious about social change, you must enact that change in your personal life. That is the whole point of everyday activism. Be the change you want to see. If you see something that's bad, beat it. Beat it. No one wants to be defeated. Show them how funky, strong is your fight. It doesn't matter who's wrong or right. Just beat it. Or, I should have put Weird Al Yankovic, going back to eat it. Choose what to eat, not to eat. And speaking of beat it, do you know one of the best foods for you is a beet? B-E-E-T. I might have a beet tonight. And I will sing Beat It while I'm eating the beet. I am going to beat it. Take care.